and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli, and tonight I'll be joined by... Since the end of season, this man has put on 5 stone in weight by gorging on packs of mini cheddars through boredom. That being said, he's still my actual fat hero. It's Danny the GFP.
Hola, senor.
How are you?
I am very good, and I'm not swearing at all, because someone has tweeted me to say I swear too much, so I will do this entire podcast without swearing.
I would say that those packs of mini cheddars, they were multi-packs.
I'm not on them. All I'm eating at the moment, I'm having mushroom, egg and bacon omelettes most days, and fruit juice.
Because that sounds healthy.
Yeah, I've been on it all week.
That's like
on a Monday.
I'm gonna eat healthy now. I'm gonna have breakfast every day. What, bran flakes? No, full English.
No, I don't have that.
Or as if you're Welsh, that's a full Welsh breakfast, which consists of just leeks. Right. Next up, if you're not blocked by this man, then count yourself truly lucky that you mustn't talk absolute bollocks. It's our dieting Venezuelan John. Hello, John.
What's up, lads? How you doing?
I think we're all good. We've missed doing podcasts, but it's nice to, get back on the horse, so to speak. Or whale, whichever one you want to say.
Fucking hell. I've got no comment whatsoever.
I think I've
nice to be on with a bunch of lovely, lovely lads.
I've got a whale in my whale.
Oh, fantastic. Right, next up, I'm informed he's from Staines, but others say that that's just what he leaves in the ladies' apple catchers. It's our Asian sensation, FK. Hello, FK.
Hello.
These are terrible.
They're not terrible, they're good.
Oh, dear. We need to
brilliant.
get a woman on here to come and give you this kind of filth back.
I was sat down at 3 o'clock this afternoon doing shots with my other half writing this shit. Is this a true story?
Oh, dear.
Actual true. Oh, it's gone to shit. Right. Next up, purveyor of Welsh justice and the man personally responsible for running Nicholas Bentner out the club. Lover of leeks, sheep, dragons and whaling. It's Jason Davis.
Oh, you're a tosser. You're an absolute first-class tosser. Oh, fuck me.
It's not what you got to say. You're insulted in the next one as well. Oh.
I've insulted all of them so far.
Oh, next up, his mutton chops have Jason nursing a semi so much to the point that he can no longer wear wool. It's Kris Carpenter.
Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
All right.
Oh, it's too good.
Dear.
Right. And this, personally, is my favourite one of the evening. I just finished a bottle at this point. And finally, our final guest is so good that he could diagnose Danny's bad elbow as wanker's cramp from over 12,000 miles away. It's our injury specialist, Dom.
How are we,
Dom?
everyone?
How are you doing?
Hello.
He's had to swap hands. That's the diagnosis that we've given him. It takes him a little bit
Dom's
longer.
a trooper.
So.
It's like 6 a.m. in Australia.
Use your feet. Oh, should we get straight into the podcast then, fellas?
Probably best.
Yeah, and he actually diagnosed Chris's injury as well, and it's 5:39 a.m. in Adelaide, and he got up early to come and join us. Bless him.
It's a
Quality.
pleasure, lads. It's a pleasure.
And is it roughly 12,000 miles away from you to us?
Let's go with that.
Not a clue. Oh, who cares? Right. Our final podcast of the season, we've decided to do something a little bit different. Where most blogs and podcasts have done an end-of-season evaluation of the team, we're going to do a player-by-player squad analysis and give our thoughts on each. Strap yourself in and let's get going. First player on my list is Lukas Fabianski. So let's start off with you, Kris.
I don't think if anyone had asked pre-season that he'd have been our keeper at the end of the season in a cup final, anyone would have seen that one coming. Personally, I was pleased for him to get that medal, but I know it was a little bit of a controversial choice. Shame to see him move on, but definitely wish him all the best. I think he was responsible for bringing on Szczesny as a better keeper over the past season. I think his improvement as a goalkeeper has certainly been helped with Fabianski being around. So we'll miss that. And it's another position we're going to have to fill in the summer. So overall, I'd have to say he had a very positive season, and he will be missed when he moves on to Swansea.
Yes. So at the end of every player, we're going to do play, which is play in the first team, squad, which is going to be squad depth. Of course, loan would be to loan out the player, and sell would be to sell the player. So he's already gone, so we don't need to talk about him. We're going to move on to Wojciech Szczesny, and we're going to go to you, Danny.
Szczesny, by far the best goalkeeper we've had at the club since I think the Mad German. And then in my time, I would say that he is the third best goalkeeper since I've been an Arsenal fan. I've put Seaman first, the Mad German second, and him third. Yeah, a fantastic season. He's played 46 games, he's conceded 46 goals, but had 22 clean sheets. Now, there's often we say that if you take out the Liverpool, Chelsea and Man City games where he let in 6, 12, 17 goals, that means he'd have only conceded 29 goals in 43 games. So I think he's had a hell of a season, and none of us would have thought that the player he was at the end of last season would have gone on to do what he did this season, because for me he is probably been my player of the year, because he has done so much and got so much better. And none of us are really sure whether it's Viviano coming in or whether it's his Polish mate there helping him out, but he has been absolutely brilliant, and definitely one we need to make sure that he stays there for a very long time.
Fantastic. So, of course, I would presume that you'll be saying that he's squad, which means, well, he'll be playing.
Hopefully he'll be, he's only 24 years old, but he'll be our number one for hopefully the next decade, maybe even longer. Massive
fan of Arsenal Football Club. The guy oozes class, and let's not forget his selfies this season. Absolutely superb.
All I'd like him to do is change his name to something a little bit more pronounceable, and I'd love him even more. Gary. Gary Smith.
Gary Smith. So with Gary Smith covered then, we're going to go over to Emiliano Viviano, and John, your analysis on him.
Wow, he had about as much play time as I did. Well, I think, he was a viable third option, better than having a younger, kid in there like Martinez or whatnot. We always had in the past injuries to our goalkeeper, so I think it was a smart move. But, fortunately this year we didn't need it, to get down to that third keeper. Obviously, we have an opening at the number 2 spot. Will it be him or somebody else? Who knows? So obviously he's on loan. He's going back to his team, and whatever happens from there happens.
Very good. I think that pretty much sums him up. You were saying before the podcast, John, that you might see him coming back next season.
I don't think that it would be a stretch. I mean, he's only going to cost $1 million, maybe $2 million to bring in. He's an experienced, decent goalkeeper. He was, He has been selected for the Italy national squad in the past. So he's a player that obviously is content with his role on the team, which a lot of times the ability kind of supersedes that, and you get somebody that's behind the number 1 player and is unhappy. I could see him coming in and just being content being the number 2, much like, Pinto was, at Barcelona. You never heard anything from him over Valdez.
No, that's a very good point, and I suppose I could think of much worse standing keepers. Right, we'll move on then, and we'll go Laurent Koscielny and to UFK.
Oh, what a brilliant defender. When we signed him and we first played him, he was so rusty. Real rough diamond, made a lot of mistakes, but there was something in him that kind of took my liking immediately, and that was just his fight, the way he was just such a spirited defender, really hands-on, no messing around, sliding challenges. Maybe it's because when I was at school I used to love the physical side of the game, so immediately struck a chord with me, and this season I think he's just really stepped up his game. He's always had a mistake in him, he's always had a red card in him or a penalty decision to go against him, but I think this season alongside Per, he's just been incredible. And I think he's just today been voted, third player of the season on the Arsenal.com website. He's on the back of my shirt. He's an absolute hero of a defender for me. He just gives his all. And actually, what's really interesting, he always steps up in the big games. The final day of the last 3 seasons spring to mind. We went to West Brom, we needed a goal and he got it. We went to Newcastle, he got the winner. And then, of course, in the FA Cup, just 2 weeks ago, getting the equaliser. And he's brave, he's committed, he's just a brilliant defender. So, absolute certainty to start next season, brilliant season, and hopefully, we can get more from him next year. I'm really delighted that the club have tied him down to a long-term deal.
I think we should talk about the partnership between him and Per Mertesacker. And Kris, we'll go to you for Mertesacker. I mean, just how good were they this season?
Phenomenal. I mean, as a partnership, you kind of strive when you're playing at the top level to find that partner that you play, whether it's whether it's up front, whether it's midfield, whether it's defence, wherever you play on the pitch, you want to know that you've got somebody that's alongside you can rely on and is dependable. And I think I think that the mark of that partnership, 20 plus games together without a loss, is the record. And it only goes to show that when you've got a player as good as Vermaelen not even able to get into the side, that just shows how good a partnership that was. They complement each other superbly well. Mertesacker obviously is more of a sort of a reads the ball well, makes those interceptions, makes the sort of the headers, so to speak, whereas Koscielny is more about the pace and covering in behind. When you put those two elements together, I know a lot of people have said about how good certain partnerships are in world football. I don't think they're far short of some of the very best. And it's a real foundation for us to build on for. If you look at the ages of the two players, we could have these two together for 5-6 years. So it's a real foundation to build on. And we know a little bit about defending it over the years as Arsenal. So I'm quite positive about what's lying ahead. And Mertesacker as well, for me, he was my player of the season. And just a fantastic performer all through the season in every way. Leadership, footballing ability, the way he imposes himself on the team on and off the pitch. Just a fantastic person to have in the club.
And do you think the partnership that you formed with Koscielny, they went 20 plus games, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I just think, do you think he's the new Adams? Do you think he has the leadership role? Could he go on and be captain of this team? Or, other people are saying that he could be a little bit too old, give it to someone younger. Do you think he could be captain?
I think it's a really difficult one to answer because everybody always sort of says, can so-and-so be the new so-and-so? They're two completely different sort of players and different type of mentalities. Adams was obviously more of obviously the British core. He was a leader and a shouter. I think Koscielny's more of a sort of he's a quiet influence. Okay, he is a talker, but I think he's more of a leading by example type of player. To sort of give you a straight answer, yeah, there's absolutely no reason why he couldn't captain the club. I think if you had a straight choice between him and Mertesacker, for me, Mertesacker would get the nod just simply on experience, international experience, the sort of levels he's played at for slightly longer. But I remember seeing Koscielny in his sort of early days at Lorient, and he was every bit the player. Excuse me, he was every bit the player that we've got now. In waiting, then you could see the athleticism he had, the way he reads the ball, and he, as we've alluded to previously, he really sort of drives the team on. He seems to perform at the most important games, at the very, very top level, and even the goals he's got, they always seem to be important goals at important times. So there is a leadership quality there. I just think that comparing him to Adams would be a bit of a difficult one for me to mention.
And Jason, we'll move on to you next, and if you could give us a brief analysis of Thomas Vermaelen, our current captain.
I'm not sure what to say about him this season. Whenever he's come in, he's done okay, but he's lost his place to Mertesacker and Koscielny, and rightfully so. They've been fantastic. But he's come in and he's done a job, and we've had that confidence of having somebody of his quality to come in throughout the season. The guy's done okay. A year left in his contract. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with him, aren't we?
And do you think that he will move on in the summer, or do you think he'll stay and fight for his place?
I really don't know. I mean, you know what Wenger's like. He doesn't want to withhold anybody back from their career. But personally speaking, I'd keep him another year. We're not going to lose that much money either way in him. So just keep him, have him as a backup. He can cover left back as well as a centre half. And, we don't particularly want to lose people, do we? We've lost Sanya. We've lost Fabianski. Let's try to keep him. And, okay, if he goes for free next year, fine. We know what's happening there.
And we'll go to you next, Dom. And if you could give us a brief analysis of Bakary Sagna, please.
Well, a lot has been made about Sagna, obviously, with his contract coming up to an end and his seemingly inevitable departure from the club. But I guess this season's probably seen him back to the pre-broken leg Sagna. I think he's been quite solid at right back, and He's played, how many games did he play in the end, Danny? You help me out. 34?
34 and one sub.
34 of the games and one sub. So he's played a lot of Premier League as well as playing obviously in the Champions League and FA Cup as well. So, I mean, you can't really ask much more from the guy. I don't really begrudge him a move. He's 31 now. I don't think he's about to get any better as long as we find someone on the market to replace him. Like I said, he's just dependable, isn't he? It's probably the best way to describe him.
And I saw someone on Twitter this week actually say that he might be the best right back we've ever had. John, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that.
Get a sweat filter ready.
Fucking hell. Best right back we've ever had. I mean, listen, I started following in 91. We had, some decent players then. Fucking hell. You had Torre that deputized there in the early part of the 2000s. You had Lauren. The best right back, he's been the most consistent during the tenure that I followed Arsenal. Let's put it that way. He's been the most consistent. Unfortunately, he came at a time where the rest of our defense and our system was kind of changing. So, I think his impact would have been felt more on with better players around him. But I just don't think it's comparable given the state of the club and the time that he came in. Trying to compare generations is so hard these days. But I would have to disagree with that just on the basis of wins and trophies and that sort of thing.
Mm. And Jason, I know this is something that you want to comment on.
Yeah, I do actually, Gim. I've seen tweets this week giving what he wants to stay, arguably the best right back we've ever seen at the club. Wherever these people are tweeting these things, you need to phone your parents now and apologise to them for being such uber cunts. For crying out loud, Pat Rice, Lee Dixon, those are the greatest right backs the club's seen, not bloody Bakary Sagna. He's been a good servant to the club, good enough for him. But, let's not show out ineptitude by calling him the greatest right back the club has ever seen. It's at their bollocks.
Mm. And FK, we'll finish this player on you. A lot has been made about him moving away from the club this summer. It looks inevitable that it will happen. Depending on destination, does he still go down in club history to you if he goes to Man City, or does he become just another Samir Nasri or Gaia Clichy?
Oh, it's a big question. Look, I'm going to be devastated to see him go to City if that's where he ends up, because frankly he has been a great servant to the club. I wouldn't say he was the best right back the club's ever seen, but I would say he's definitely up there, top 5 maybe, certainly in my lifetime. The one thing that I've always got to say about Sagna is that regardless of what happens off the pitch, whenever he used to cross that line, he used to give his all, and actually he stuck by us. We stuck by him. We had injuries and we gave him the patience, helped him recover, but he stuck by us at a time when he was the best right back in the league, when he could have gone, when everybody else kind of went. So I've got no ill feeling towards him. I think if he decides to go, it's his last contract, it's his swan song, it's his payday. I think Arsenal Football Club did the credible thing by offering him what they felt was a fair deal. And ultimately there comes a point when, £100,000 for a week for a 31-year-old who's not going to get better. There comes a point when you have to say, well, we've made a fair offer. If you're lucky enough to get much more money elsewhere, and ultimately, he's getting a 40-50% pay rise, and we have to step away. And frankly, there are players who may not be able to hit the ground running immediately, but there are players out there that we can get that I think will eventually become, a more better for us in the long term.
Mm. And hopefully, if we have enough time, we hope to talk about a few of those transfers at the end of the show. We'll move on. Danny, we'll go to you next, and can we have a little bit of analysis on Kieran Gibbs?
One of the players who I thought really wasn't going to make it at the club when we got in from was it MK Dons or Wimbledon at the time? I think it's the
Wimbledon.
It was the crossover between one and the other at the time. He was actually a forward, much like Ashley Cole was a forward, but with his constant years and years of injuries, I thought he's never going to make it to play an entire season because it's always one thing straight after another. But this season he's been absolutely brilliant. I know that he's had Monreal behind him. I'm just looking at his games. He played 28 in the league this season, 27 last, 16 before that, and 7 before that. So it must have been hard coming in for Clichy. But I think long term now, I would say we can get rid of Monreal. And I would have a younger player as backup, someone who's earning less money, because Monreal can't be happy there for too long, being 4 years older than Gibbs, but not being number one. But Gibbs I'm a bit disappointed in a way for him that he hasn't gone to the World Cup, but I'm glad for us as Arsenal fans that he hasn't gone, because that summer he'll need it after having such a long season. I mean, he played 41 games all season, 1 goal, I think that says 5 assists. Bloody hell, that's not bad, is it? So, yeah, it's just really, really nice to see him doing well. I think he's shown that getting forward, he's really good. He doesn't panic like Monreal does. I know someone else is going to get Monreal next, so I won't say too much about him. But I just think it has been one of those make or break seasons for him, and he's now shown that he can be the number one for definitely for Arsenal, and push for that number one for England now that Cashley Cole is going to retire or never play for England again. So it's mainly between him and Leighton Baines.
I mean, a lot of you that will watch Kieran Gibbs week in, week out, you know he's small, but I'll tell you a story. I was lucky enough to get my hands on a match-worn Kieran Gibbs shirt, right? And my missus turned around to me and she goes, you got to fucking slip it on and have a wear of it. And seriously, I didn't realise he was that small until I tried to fit that shirt over my body. It looked like the Michelin Man trying to wear a boob tube. But, right, anyway. John, we shall move on. We'll go to you next, John, sorry. And we'll go Nacho Monreal.
Nacho. I think Nacho's a bit of a victim of our system. You know, he's being asked to go forward, which he can do very well. I think he's better than Gibbs going forward. He has better link-up play. He knows what to do with the ball, a lot better. I think you see when him and Cazorla play together, even though it's a defensive liability, they're very good going forward together. My problem with Nacho is that he hasn't adapted well to the transition of our system, which requires the fullback to be 3/4 of the pitch down 1 second, and the next second be covering on defense with some pace. He's lacking pace. When you ask him to defend, he can defend. Obviously, he's got his bogey moments, just like Gibbs does. But when you ask, he's like an either or type of player. He can either defend or he can go forward. His transitional game between the two is where he's kind of left out, in the wind. I like Nacho. I think if, we need quality players at backup positions if we're going to compete at, on all levels. So for me, I think we keep Nacho and we go forward.
Now, I remember when we were lucky enough to speak to John Cross, and he said the day that Nacho Monreal signed, he had one of the top Spanish journalists on the phone to him and said that we had got probably one of the best Spanish left-backs in the country today.
Graham Hunter.
Yeah. I mean, where do you think that went wrong? Because he's not really shown a lot of his promise.
I think he's shown his offensive ability. But again, you're asking him to go from a player that's coming from a system at Malaga that was very much, offensively deployed, in a system in Spain where the midfield keeps the possession the whole time and the fullbacks are there as another attacking option, to a system where he's actually a system in a league where he's actually asked to do that transitional game and go from attack to defend rather quickly and kind of be out on an, quote unquote, on an island where that speed and physicality has kind of gotten the best of him at times. I think if you give him another year, you'll see a much better player, but I think going forward, you're not going to find much better at a left back position. I think he's a very good player.
So you reckon we should definitely stick with him, unlike what Danny says, and sell him. But we should stick with him, give him another year, see how he progresses. Do you think that he's good enough to take that left back spot for his own?
No, I don't, because I think Gibbs has the pace that we need in the system that we deploy. If we, do a different system, then, there's a possibility of a better competition. But as of right now, no.
And what I'll do is I'll go through all of you just quickly, a new feature that I'm adding to the podcast right this moment, and each of you I either want Nacho or Gibbs. Danny?
Gibbs.
Dom?
Gibbs.
Chris?
Gibbs.
Jason?
Nacho.
Boo.
FK?
Oh, Gibbs all day long.
And John?
I just said it, Gibbs.
But I think,
Right.
Gim, just on that point, for me, Gibbs is just the better player, full stop. But that's the level of competition that I would love throughout the entire squad. You've got a Spanish international. I know he's not made the squad this time around, but that's because of limited game time. But he is a very, very good left back. He's a very good backup, and that's the kind of competition for places that I want, because he has forced Gibbs to up his game, and I'm really pleased for Gibbs.
Absolutely, FK. I mean, we talk every week, and everybody every day on Twitter about quality competition to improve the squad. This is exactly what we need.
Yeah.
Next we'll go to Dom, and if you could analyse Carl Jenkinson.
Yeah, he divides opinion a little bit, Carl, doesn't he? I think, for me, I'll just speak about it on a purely sort of physical kind of analysis, I think, because to me, he holds all the athletic attributes to be a very, very good player. He is an elite runner. There was probably not too many players in that squad that would touch him, I don't think. Maybe Aaron Ramsey, but even then, I think that Carl's probably got a little bit more pace than what Aaron does. So looking at it athletically, he's got all the attributes there. He's got some height about him. He's 185 centimetres. He's not a short lad. So that's why, in future perhaps they could see him filling in at centre-back as well. But I think that the issue there is his instability as far as his defensive experience goes. I think when you've got a young player like that, the problem with him betting into the side is that if he makes a mistake, it's going to cost us a goal, if not a match. If Yaya Sanogo makes a mistake up the other end, then he just smacks it into row Z and hits someone in the head. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I would definitely keep him around. If we could get someone in to sort of, well, obviously with Sanya leaving, to get somebody else in, if there's enough cover there to put him out on loan, I think would probably be the best option for Carl Jenkinson.
Definitely so. FK, can you see Jenkinson playing any part next season, or do you think he'll go out on loan like Dom just said?
I think he'll play, but I think he should go on loan. And the reason why I think he'll play is because if Sanya goes, then obviously Arsenal will bring in someone like Aurier, maybe, who looks like to be the favourite. And I think Jenko will get a run of games, maybe in a cup or just a few league games here and there. For me personally, I'd love to see him go out on loan for an entire season and just play right back week in, week out for a club. I personally think he can make it. There's a lot of we've had a lot of debate about this on the podcast over the season, and I think opinions divided. The problem that I think Arsenal face is that whilst he has potential, and don't forget when he had a run of games in the team, he was half decent. I mean, he got an England call up on the back of his performances, and everybody remembers Bayern away. He was brilliant, but I don't know if Arsenal have got the time to give him that chance. It's a bit of a like a what's the word? It's an experiment. If you can't win the league by December, but you can be out of it, and I think it's just such a risky position to give him a run out of games. If he doesn't do well, then of course we've shot ourselves in the foot by not buying. But if he does do well, then of course then great. But there's no guarantee. So for me, I think let him guarantee his form, let him develop as a player, get a year's loan, another Premier League club, and that's what I'd do.
And John, your final word on CJ?
I would be fine with Jenkinson going forward if the mistakes that were prevalent in the initial matches that he played for us weren't the same mistakes that he's doing now. The problem with the run of matches is that you have to see, bearing away, those are all, isolated issues. But the real run of matches that he had earlier in the season was against weakened opposition, where we were pretty much in control of the matches and he had little to do. When you see Swansea, last year, you see Chelsea this year in the Cup, it's that decision making that's troubling. It hasn't changed, even though he's in training every day with, really good players. It's not he's not improving in his decision making, which just by the training alone, it should be a step forward. For me, I agree 100% with FK. Send him out on loan. Let him, let him see, let's see if he is the player that some people think he is. And if he is, it'll show. And then we have a great battle with him and Hector Bellerin and whoever it is that we bring in. Depth at a position is never a bad thing. So I think, CJ, just because you're passionate about the club, that doesn't equal talent. He's a great athlete, but passion doesn't equal talent, but he is a hard worker. And hard work sometimes will win you matches. So let's see what he has someplace else. I don't think, like FK said, I don't think we have the time to be experimenting when we're so close to competing on all fronts.
I thoroughly agree with that. We'll go to you next, Jason, and we'll go Matthew Flamini.
Oh, Matthew Flamini, what can I say? I expected him to play a bigger part this season, in all honesty. He's got 27 appearances, 9 off the bench, 18 starts, 1 red card against Southampton, which did cost us. He picks up yellows for fun, doesn't he? He's that combative little bugger at the back, ordering people around, making sure defence is solid. I've got a lot of time for him, expected him to play a bit more. But, you kind of know what you get with him. He's somebody who upsets people. He doesn't give a damn. He gets in there, gets stuck in every time. I think he's had a good season. I'm disappointed he hasn't played more with Arteta's legs seeming on the way out. But I think he's been great. I think he's been a fantastic signing. We've had him for nothing. And, he's so passionate in everything he does for the club. Fantastic.
Yes. I mean, Flamini is one of those, I think he does divide opinion among the fans some of the time. He's a very strong-willed character who's not afraid to speak his mind, as it proved with Arsene Wenger, with the whole cutting off of the sleeves. I don't think we know if that's true or whether that's not true or not. There was also reports in the press that he'd confronted, was it at Liverpool, Arsene Wenger's halftime team tactics, or was it at Chelsea?
Yeah, it was Liverpool.
Yeah, which is why he was left out of the team. I think every time you see him play, you get kind of a ruggedness from him, almost a feeling of the protection of the back four, I think.
Sorry to cut in you there, but yeah, he's got the leadership qualities which we need going forward. We need leaders throughout the team. Combined with that, his passion and his honesty are an attribute to that team. Whether Arsene Wenger likes it or not, you need honest opinions in the dressing room. And if Flamini doesn't think it's the right way to go, he has every right to say that to Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger's got every right to tell him to shut up afterwards. But, that honesty and the passion is needed in any sporting event, especially football. So, I think he's a great attribute to the club. I really do.
And next we'll go to FK, who is going to talk to us about Mikel Arteta.
He's such a good player, Arteta. I love the way Wenger took him from being an attacking kind of playmaker and converted him almost into this sort of holding, deep-sitting kind of playmaker for us. And, I was thinking about it the other day, and actually looking back at some of Wenger's signings, I think he's kind of just been missed almost an unsung hero, because I think he's done such a good job for us. And when he joined, we were crying out for a player to come in and just calm things down in midfield. And he's been a brilliant player. I think he's reaching an age now where maybe his legs are beginning to go. And I think you saw in the bigger games this season that he just wasn't quite up to scratch. He's obviously, nowhere near as good as Yaya Toure or, the Chelsea midfielders, or I think he's just come unstuck. I think that's just because he's aging, but a great player, a great servant in his short time that he's been with us. And people always talk about the fact that he's so professional and what a great role model that he is, off the pitch at the training grounds, looking after the youngsters and stuff. Next season, I think he's definitely got a role in the squad. He's obviously a great person to have in the dressing room, very, very experienced man. I think he'll be a squad player at best, in my opinion. I think if you want to win the league and you want to win the Champions League, quite frankly and quite bluntly, you just need better quality. So I'd love to see him stay in the squad. He's very influential. He's had a great season this season, but I think it just could be the start of the end for him.
And this is another player that, again, divides the fan base. I mean, you see an awful lot on a match day. I mean, if you scroll through Twitter, you see a lot of people saying, oh, he's shit, bring him off at half time. Why aren't they playing Flamini? Kris, elaborate that a little bit more. Why are people on his back so much?
Why are they on his back? It's a good question, really. It's a difficult one to answer. I think the trouble that Arteta has, I'm a big fan. Just get that out there straight away. There's two things that I think people have a big issue with. One is that they're very quick to forget that this guy is a lad that we signed as a central attacking midfielder who used to kind of orchestrate Everton's attacks. We've signed him and transformed him into a completely different type of player. I think people are very quick to forget that when he's playing that role. That's the first thing. And the other thing I think that people generally get frustrated is that he does tend to slow the game down a bit. The passes that he makes are very sort of sideways. He tends to look for the simple ball. There's not anything particularly flashy. And obviously people hark back to the days when we played free-flowing and attacking football with speed, with pace. The simple fact is this current squad that we've got is not blessed with a huge amount of pace. So the players that we have to play to the strengths. And I think the manager sees Arteta as a real strength in the water carrying role. And just taking that touch and just moving the ball sideways and keeping us ticking over. The one thing I do like about him is he's not particularly afraid to take a tackle. That sounds wrong, but you know what I mean. We remember the incident with a tooth at Hull. He's got some balls. He's got some leadership qualities. I don't think Arsenal's clearly not a mug. You wouldn't have made him captain for no reason. So there's clearly an element of off-field organisation as well as on-field. So I think he has got that leadership quality. But yeah, I still think he's got a part to play. It's just difficult for people to sometimes see through the element of what he does and realise that what he does is very useful to the side.
And for you, is he someone that you would sell or is he someone that you would keep?
I definitely keep him. Two reasons. One, I don't think we could sell him on. I think the amount of money we get from it really wouldn't be worth it. And two, I do think he's got a part to play in the squad as much as in the first team.
John, do you want to finish us off on Mikel Arteta? I know you've been very vocal in the group.
Yeah. Listen, I like Arteta. But, Arteta has basically given the last 2 years of his career for, a project DM, to be honest. He lacks the pace. He's learned to up his physicality. But I think a lot of the things that he does are reactionary when a lot of DMs would be, anticipating instead of reacting. But that's not the player's fault. That's the manager's fault for converting an offensive-minded player to a defensive player without the tools to be the player that we need at that position. So, we take it out on the player, but at the end of the day, it's on the club and on the manager to deploy the correct player at the correct position. And frankly, he's just not the player for that position. So for me, it's always been we've been better organized and a better attacking team with Flamini there. For whatever reason, we brought him in on a free. We were looking really good with him earlier on in the season, but we didn't continue with that formation for whatever reason. But I think this summer we have to buy a DM.
So, are you saying that you'd sell him, or would you keep him around for squad depth?
No, he's definitely squad depth, and he, off the field, as Kris and the others have mentioned, he's definitely a calming influence, leadership, and the whole bit. But just don't put him in position. When you put players in positions to fail, they'll likely fail if they don't have the tools for that position.
Very true. I know all of you are probably sat there looking at this list of players thinking, oh, Jesus, not me. But Danny, unfortunately, you've drawn the short straw, so put the cheddars down. Abu Dhabi.
I think Dom should tell people a little bit about his cruciate ligament tear, because that kept him out for an astounding 396 days. Dom.
Yeah, so it's the same kind of injury as what Theo Walcott's had. I think Theo's diagnosis is probably more of a sort of 6 to 8 month injury. Even that would be quite quick. But Diaby, obviously keeping him out for so long, it's more of a case of all the other problems he's had, and it stems from the ankle that he had smashed to pieces. And I've alluded to this before, and it's a problem that you get when you have an injury to a joint. It changes the biomechanic structure of how you move, and puts more load through different areas, through different joints and different muscles. And I think it's just been a flow-on effect of different little injuries as far as that goes. But the ACL is a completely unrelated problem. That would have just been one of those things where he was put under a strange movement, under some load, maybe got a knock from someone in training and blew out his ACL. And basically what you have to do to fix that is you take a graft from your hamstring tendon, you take plugs of bone out of your femur and your tibia, and then you take the old ligament that's snapped in half out, and you thread the new one through the bone, then you put the bone back in. So basically you're recovering from 2 broken legs, a new ACL and a hamstring. So he's look, if we can get 20 games total out of Diaby next season, I think that's a win. I don't have too much confidence in him. I think he'd probably injure himself tying his shoelaces at the moment. But it's one of those things. Like, the guy's got bags and bags of talent, but as far as his injuries and things go, he's had the big one. The ACL is a really, really difficult injury to come back from and not have any problems with, let alone having so many injuries before that. So I think it's just a bit of a wait and see with Diaby.
It's very true. I know he was on not pay as you play, but he received no wages, did he? For a large amount of time. I heard a long time ago that what was wrong with him was something that was going to hamper his career for the rest of his life. I mean, nobody ever wants that from a player. It would be nice to see him come back. I mean, every time he does come back, we see the glimpses of the player that he could be, and then unfortunately he gets injured again, and then, you inevitably get the haters on your back. FK, would you like to say a little bit, Ari Diaby?
Hey, listen, all the boy wants to do is play football, and injuries have absolutely crippled him. I think the club have got to a point now where we've supported him for so long that they're just going to keep trying, and I think he's got, a year left on his contract. When that comes up for expiry, then they'll have to decide, they'll have to make a brave call. We've stuck by him for so long. Do we keep pumping in money, with his rehab, or giving him wages or whatever? Obviously the fact, even if he's not costing anything and he takes a pay as you play thing, he still occupies a position in the squad, and that is effectively costing us. So, I really feel for the boy. I really wish he could make it, but I just think, I think they have to call it a day with him.
Well, I think the fact that he's only just gone 28 about 3 weeks ago, and the fact that, unlike Theo Walcott, he doesn't rely on pace, because I know Don was saying when Walcott comes back, he may lose the pace that gave him his game, like Michael Owen when he had a similar kind of injury that knackered his game because he had no pace. But Diaby isn't a player that relies on pace, is he? Because his strength and his ability to score and tackle and just get stuck in. So I still think there is a chance.
You're right, Danny. I appreciate that. His game isn't based on pace. But I think when you look over the years and how we've just fallen short every year of winning trophies or going on in the league, you kind of sit back and think, well, had we a better player who could have contributed more, maybe not as good technically, but the fact that we've stuck by him year after year after year, that's not a problem. I haven't got a problem with that. It's just that he takes the space up in the squad, and when you're paying someone 60, 70,000 a week, football is a serious game when you're at that, when you want to win the league and you come close, but you miss out by 7, 8, 10 points, whatever. It makes you think that had we have had a half fit player who maybe not half as good as Diaby, but he could have done a job and we needed him. That's just the frustration that I've got. No ill feeling towards the boy. He gets a lot of unfair criticism, and I really hope he makes it, but I personally don't think he will.
Definitely. Right, we're going to move on then, and we'll go to Jason, who's going to analyse Chim Chalstrom.
To be fair to Chalstrom, I mean, it was a pointless signing other than the fact when he was called upon to score a penalty in the semi-final, he goes up, cools a cucumber, bangs in the back of the net. He's a lovely footballer. You don't get that 100-odd caps for Sweden for being a donkey. He's just not good enough for us going forward. What little part he's played, he did okay. Can't knock the lad.
And Kris, there's been reports, or quotes, should I say, from Chalstrom himself saying that he wouldn't mind staying at Arsenal or coming back, whichever way you want to look at it. How would you view him having another season with us?
I'm all for it personally. It's a tough one because it's kind of a balancing act. If you look at the players that we're likely to lose this summer, as opposed to the ones that we need to bring in, obviously you've got to be very careful about how many of these players fill the squad, quote unquote. If we're already talking about keeping Arteta and potentially giving Diaby one more shot, that's 2 more spaces in the squad taken up, one of which we didn't rely on all last season. Suddenly now, hopefully, we may be able to rely on next season. So with that being said, it's difficult to know whether we would have the squad space. But if we have got the space, I would much rather that we sign a player with his sort of size, with his bulk, and with his experience, especially going into the European fixtures. He's vastly experienced in the Champions League. He's had many seasons when he was in his Lyon days, and he brings that sort of international class to a midfield. The one thing I would say is that is he going to be too similar to Flamini and Arteta? And if we did bring in another defensive midfielder, would there be enough space for him? Although technically he's quite good on the ball and he's very sort of expressive in his long range passing. His general size, I think, would lead us to playing him probably out of position, and we would have arguably sort of another Arteta situation on our hands. So, and he's not the quickest, which also is another issue. Again, if people are moaning about Arteta, there is that sort of issue of slowing the game down again. But to answer the question, I would keep him just because I've always been a big fan of his. But appreciate that's not necessarily what everyone would say. Go on, Jason.
In, Chris, but again, he's 31.
Yeah.
Arteta's 32. Flamini's 30. We're not an old age pension at home, okay?
No.
We need to bring in some kids. There's no point in having all these guys at that age. We need some legs in the squad. Karlstrom's not the way forward for legs. And he's a top player, but he ain't the way forward. Did somebody say Cesc, Glenn?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm hearing Cesc.
It was FK.
Guess who?
Maybe. Sorry.
If it wasn't for those dulcet tones, I'd go bananas.
It's the heat, Jace. It's the heat. I'm sesquily frustrated. I just can't take it.
For the record, I think FK's got a point, but I'm sure we'll come on to that bit later, so I'll save myself for then.
Same here. I'm not going anywhere.
At this point, Cesc can play fucking right back for all we know.
You can catch FK on his other account, which is at WayneGooney16.
Oh, you cheeky bastard.
Right then. FK, we'll go to you next, and a favourite of mine, Santi Cazorla.
The little wizard. How can you not like Santi Cazorla? How can anyone not like Santi Cazorla? When you watch him play football and he's so small and he's just got a smile, he's got that grin ear to ear. If you don't like Santi Cazorla, you're dead inside, I think. He's a great player, genuinely 2-footed, lots of tricks, nimble, agile, he's just a great guy. Rescued us in the FA Cup final. When you're watching football on TV and you see someone who looks like he's just enjoying the game and he's just so gifted and so technically wonderful to watch. He's just a brilliant player. I mean, what more can you say? I think he could do better at free kicks. I know he scored in the FA Cup final, but he's actually very good at set pieces, and we've maybe not taken advantage of that this season. But he's very versatile. You can play him anywhere, sort of midfield, wide, left, right. He's not quick off the ball, but actually on the ball, he reminds me of Perez that way. When he's on the ball, he's actually quite quick with the ball, if that makes sense. But he's a great player. I mean, I really hope he stays next season. Not that there's much talk of him going, but I think he's been a great signing. He brings technique and excitement and a little bit of a buzz to our midfield, and just a great player. Very, very happy to have him.
And John, you next. Some might argue that Santi Cazorla has not been at his best since we signed Mesut Ozil. Is that something that you'd agree with? Do you think Mesut Ozil has maybe stunted Cazorla's game, or do you think they are perfectly capable of playing together?
I think they can play together. I mean, everybody, is a YouTube scout. So when they go and look at Santi, they look at his days of Malaga, which, he played every position, bar goalkeeper and defense. But I mean, if you look at his earlier career, he with Villarreal and the like, he was a left winger. The issue is that he doesn't provide much depth. He loves, he's ambidextrous, so he comes inside a lot, can use both feet as FK alluded to, he's not very quick of foot off the ball, but he can do a lot with it. He's got a tick, and I don't know if a lot of people have noticed it, but he has this thing, I don't know if it's subconsciously, that he has to touch the ball with both feet every time he gets it. It's and it has gotten him in trouble from time to time. It has cost us goals. But yeah, I think that if you give him time to adapt, this year, Oz will miss some time. He missed some time. So, we had a lot of injuries to deal with, but, they're more than capable of playing together, and Cazorla is a natural left winger. I think that they're more than capable with playing together, and Cazorla is a very talented player. So I don't see any negatives in that association.
One final question on Cazorla. Where do you see him playing in a starting 11 next year?
I'm one of these, the guys that I think that you need to play the player where he has the most experience, and for him it's on the left wing. We have a natural 10. He's literally the best 10 in the world if you surround him with the talent that's available. Cazorla can deputize on the left very easily. You put Theo on the right, and I think you have pace and the technical ability. I'm one of these people that I don't believe that we need an out and out world class striker. I think we need pace and ability more than anything else. And I think the technical ability and talent of the players will win out.
Definitely so. We'll move on then, and we'll go to you, Don, next. And I'd like to analyse Jack Wilshere.
Yeah, Jack Wilshere is another one that's got people a little frustrated, I think. It's almost, I sort of compare it quite similarly to Aaron Ramsey, where Aaron Ramsey had a pretty horrific injury that kept him out for 12 months, and then he came back and the fans didn't really give him the time to get back into the swing of things. He's only a young lad, so is Jack. And then look where Aaron's sort of progressed to now. I actually see the exact same thing happening with Jack, to be honest. I think that he can push on next season, hopefully fingers crossed injury-free, and I think that we'll all be quite pleasantly surprised at the player that he ends up being. We all know how good he can be. Just on his injuries, I'm looking here, and Danny's put some stuff up about how many ankle/foot injuries he's had throughout the season. There's one hamstring injury, which didn't keep him out for too long, which is good. Must have just been a bit of a strain, but those ankle-foot injuries are a little bit worrying. I think the problem that Jack has is that he's one of those guys that when he gets the ball, he dribbles with it and he releases the ball so late that he draws so many tackles. And opposition players obviously target him a lot as well and kick lumps out of him quite a lot. So it is a bit of a worry. Like I've said before, that the injury that Jack Wilshere had initially back when he got the stress fracture in the New York Red Bulls game, it's a navicular fracture in the ankle bone, which if it doesn't heal, it can be career-ending. So they would have been absolutely shitting kittens when he got stepped on against who was it? Was it the international game where the Liverpool bloke
Danny Agger, Denmark.
Daniel Agger.
Stupid wanker. That they would have been absolutely shitting themselves that it didn't refracture that bone. It wouldn't surprise me if he still has screws and things in there. With a stress fracture, it's not a clean break. Aaron Ramsey obviously was horrific to look at, but it's a clean break and the bones will heal back together probably stronger than they were. With a stress fracture, it's almost like sandpapering two parts of a broken bone and then trying to stick them back together. They don't heal, they don't graft properly. That's why you need screws and things. And if they don't take and it doesn't heal properly, like I said, it can be very, very nasty. So seeing all these ankle/foot injuries that he gets is actually a little bit concerning, and I'm hoping that he sort of maybe takes a little bit of a leaf out of Ramsey's book and just plays the easy pass, gets himself back into the game a little bit and tries maybe not to have that physical presence in midfield. But again, for me, that's another reason that we need a decent defensive midfielder to help him out in there and make sure that he doesn't have to do as much work as he does defensively. But fingers crossed for the kid, because I think he's going to be an absolute worldie.
And some people are saying that he's just recovering from an injury. He's going to go to the World Cup with England. What risk do you think he is of picking up an injury with the squad the way he is at the moment? Do you think he should be given time to rehabilitate? Do you think it's the right idea for him to even be going to a World Cup?
I think that it's absolutely fine at the moment. The injury that he got that held him out of those last few weeks of the season was just a broken metatarsal, and it was only a really, really minor hairline fracture too. So I think from all reports they kept him back. Arsene Wenger really sort of delayed his inclusion into the first team just to really, really make sure that he didn't have any of these problems recur. I think there's no risk now, as far as injury goes, as any more so than in the start of next season, for instance. So he'll be fine at the World Cup. I think he'll be probably fresher than he has been for most of the season, to be honest, since the rest that he had at the end. And I think it was probably pretty smart on the, as far as the club goes, holding him back, knowing that he was going to go to the World Cup, making sure that they sent him away as fit as possible. So he wasn't as high risk of doing any kind of injury there. So like I said, when you've got an injury to a joint where it will change the biomechanics, if you're limping, if it doesn't have the same range of movement as the other side, you start to put strain on other joints and muscles, and that's where you can end up getting those recurrence of injuries, a little bit like Diaby. But I think Jack's built a little bit differently, so I've got high hopes for him. I think he'll be okay.
And Kris, as for actual playing this season, how has Wilshere done?
Mixed bag for me. There's no doubt at all that the talent is there. Excuse me. The ability to sort of drive from midfield to pick up a ball and run with it. His vision is exceptional. Second to none in my opinion. I think the biggest problem that Jack has got or has had this season has been the form of Aaron Ramsey, really, because that's essentially probably the best role that he would play would be in the same position. And I know he struggled a few times when the two of them have played together. I wouldn't actually be against the idea of moving Jack back slightly in the team. I suppose the danger of that would be that you maybe wouldn't necessarily get the best of him going forwards, but there's a few players in world football that can play the DM role, but still technically very good and can still release a final pass. Javi Martinez being one of those. The only sort of thing that would probably hold Jack back from playing further back in the team would be that injury record. I like probably a lot of fans always wince and have done all this season. As soon as he takes a little bit of a sort of a shunt or a kick, he is often down, and that ankle is the first thing he goes to. So that's probably held back the progress that he could have made this season. But ultimately, you would rather have an Arsenal team with Jack Wilshere in it, or certainly around it, than you would to not have him. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag, and hopefully we'll get to see the Jack that we all know that he is next season.
And John, your final word, please.
On Jack, I think a lot of people forget that, his injuries started when he felt that pressure to replace Cesc. When he was doing the simple things, which was, staying further back, having the occasional run forward, he was great. All you had to do is think back to that Barcelona game and, similar to remember those type of performances. But when he started going forward, making the forward runs, and started getting kicked by everybody because they knew that was the way to stop us, that's when the injuries began. I think if you sit, Jack down and tell him, listen, you have to stay further back, just do the simple things as you've done before, I don't think that, there's any limit on what he can do. He's a tremendous player. Just the goals and the link-up play this year has shown it. A lot of people, are ragging on him for the last half of the season, but, he was injured. The same people that were ragging on him waited 18 months for Ramsey. I think it's a little early to call, Jack a bench or a squad player. There's bags of talent there. I think it just needs to be, directed properly.
And I don't think we should forget that just how long Jack Wilshere has been playing football. I mean, didn't he sign for the academy when he was something like 7 or 8 or 9? He was in the school holidays. He was playing in the Emirates Cup against Juventus instead of the kids his age at 15, 16, going out and smoking pot and getting drunk on a street corner. Let's not forget the rigours that his body has been through, even at such an early age. I think he has such great potential, and every time I've seen him play, I've just he shows, again, touches of genius that he is dead set to be in this team. I think he just has to up it a notch and shake the injuries, and I think we'll be fine. With that said then, FK, we're going to go to you, and Thomas Rosicky, please.
I love Rosicky. The little Mozart, the little ball of energy when we're chasing a game, or if the tempo's kind of slowed down, he is that guy that you bring on to basically speed up our game, and always drives forward. And when he gets the ball, he looks up. That's the first thing he does, and just wants to progress the play. It's a massive shame, much like Diaby, that a lot of his career has been destroyed by injury. I remember watching him for Dortmund and the Czech Republic. Some of the older fans amongst us remember international tournaments when he used to just smash them in from 25 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards. Everyone used to think, Rosicky, that guy. He's kind of never really hit the heights at Arsenal that you maybe would have expected, but this season he's been a really useful player for us to have, a great option on the bench because he's aging. He doesn't look like he's aging, especially when you look back at that goal against Spurs in the FA Cup when he dispossessed Rose in our own half and kind of ran from the halfway pitch, just kept so calm, so composed. He's such a great player. You hear rumours about the likes of Marco Reus, looking at Rosicky as a lifetime hero, and you can understand why. You see the guy on the pitch, he puts in his all, he's just an ultimate professional. And another player that I'm just so happy that we won the cup because he stuck with us for so long, and it was just great to see him lift the cup. So a great player, and next season I think he's going to have a much more limited role in the team because, he's going to be 34 in October. He's not going to get any younger, any quicker. So the writing's on the wall, but, you want to keep him in the squad for as long as you can.
I think he's one of those players that as long as you've got him in the team, there's always the chance that he could pop up off the bench and score the winner, just completely out of nothing with a touch of sheer magic. And I think for that reason alone, he's one of those players that, you've got to keep on, just for that alone. Next, we're going to go the Ox, and we're going to go to Kris.
Yeah, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, he's a gem of a player. His enthusiasm is, I went to see a couple of games last season in the flesh, and one of them in particular was the Everton FA Cup game, and I was just really taken aback by just the level of drive that he has, and almost the will to impress at every opportunity. There was one incident, I remember in the game sort of vividly, where he lost the ball down sort of in the corner flag, and he chased pretty much the length of the pitch to get back and get the ball back, and it just epitomises the sort of player he is. He's got that genuine bit of pace. I think the one thing he can add to his game is goals, because he has got that ability to finish. I think it was, from memory, Palace. He got the 2 goals. He has got that ability, and he has got that in his locker. And the box-to-box nature of his sort of abilities to drive at defences, but as well as get back in position, that's kind of invaluable to any team. I think the only other thing that would be nice to sort of see next season is him really nail down what position he's going to be. I know Arsene sort of probably sees him as a central midfielder long term, and I think he's got all the makings of that just by size alone and touch. But this season he's had to play 2 or 3 different roles. Every time he's come in, he's always looked the part. That, as I say, that drive is infectious, and it rubs off on other players. And yeah, I've been really impressed with him, and I think he's taken that step forward this season. And I think now he'll impress year on year and just get better.
Dom, the Ox is another player that has struggled with fitness this season. Would you care to talk us through some of the injuries that he's had and whether they might recur into next season?
Yeah, the first injury that he had was a knee injury. He missed 145 days with that one. That was just a bit of a twist of a knee. I'm not actually too sure. I don't think they ever really said what it was. I'm guessing it might have been a medial ligament or some meniscus cartilage or something like that. But, that's a reasonable amount of time out. He came back quite successfully from that, to be honest. The problem that he had was because he wasn't doing any kind of running, obviously, when he had that injury, being such a young guy, and it happens quite a lot with the younger athletes. He came back and he basically got something that's called osteitis pubis. And the reason that he...
Sounds like what Danny gets stuck in his teeth.
I bloody dare you.
It's basically an overuse injury from running, and it is prominent in younger athletes. So this kind of moulds in well with a couple of the other examples that we've got with Jack Wilshere, Aaron Ramsey to an extent, Kieran Gibbs, these younger players that don't understand their bodies maybe perhaps the same as what an older person will. So there are signs early on with osteitis pubis that something's not right. But these young guys are so used to playing and picking up a knock and, running it off and it recovers really quickly, or, getting a bit of a tight hamstring but thinking, oh, it's okay, I'll push through that. That's not a big... The thing is these younger guys don't probably really have the same understanding of their body. And so these small little injuries become bigger injuries. So if he'd got onto that early and the club were able to scan it and diagnose it as osteitis pubis, he would have only missed a couple of weeks. And that's why you had Arsene Wenger at the end of the season, basically every press conference before a game, getting asked the same question, how far away is Oxlade-Chamberlain? And he kept saying, look, it's, the next 3 days will determine how he is. And that would have been because they had to give him complete rest from running to see if he would recover from it. And it's just an inflammatory problem in the groin. And so it's not going to go away unless you rest it. So I think when people talk about injuries and they talk about what are the club going to do better next season, how are they going to stop a lot of this stuff from happening, there's a couple of different things that give me a little bit of hope. Is that these younger guys have had these little injuries. Jack Wilshere's had a few little niggles, Kieran Gibbs, all these guys. Aaron Ramsey learnt the hard way trying to come back too soon. That they might start to really understand how important it is to go to somebody when you're feeling a strain, feeling a knock, feeling a niggle, not trying to push through it, not trying to do anything silly. And unfortunately, a lot of our younger kids have seem to have learnt the hard way. But the other thing that I think we've done well is tie someone down like Thomas Rosicky, who can more than adequately cover an Ozil or a Cazorla or anybody like that. If they're out for a couple of games, you're going to be really confident going in knowing that he's going to be your squad depth and maybe not a Thomas Eisfeld coming through. So I think the club are on the up, and I think they've got a few little things in place. I think that the injuries might be a little bit, hopefully, fingers crossed, a little bit better next season.
I think we can all hope a little bit for that. Next, we go from one Welsh wanker to another Welsh wizard. Jace, if you'd like to harpoon us Aaron Ramsey, please.
What can you say about Aaron Ramsey? He's missed 15 games this season to injury, unfortunately, which has been really, really disappointing. But when you look at his Premier League stats alone, in passing, he's in the top 3. The only people above him are Cazorla and Ozil. And those guys, their technique is fantastic. In attack, he's second in our squad. Only Giroud ahead of him, who's our main striker, who's played the majority of the season. And defence, the only person above him is Mikel Arteta, who is our defensive midfielder. The guy has been fantastic. He's become our all-round midfielder. He's to come from where he's come from last season, being the butt of all the boos from the fans, etc. And you imagine, he's out there playing, the fans are booing him. His parents are in that stadium watching him. The strength of character that man's shown to come back and be the spark of our team this season. He's just shown real character and determination. He's got 10 goals, 8 assists. He's picked up 3 yellow cards, showing he's got a bit of bottle as well. I'm in such admiration of the guy. It's unbelievable. Thank God he's Welsh. We haven't got many great players other than Bale and him. There'll be a few more coming through next. But
you'll soon have a 5-a-side football team then.
Don't forget Kwame Ampadu.
Hey,
who?
Bless you. Kwame Ampadu. We'll have Ashley Williams as well. He's just been a joy to watch. He has. And, he's brought so much joy to the fans, and he's really been the spark which has lifted a team. The cup final winning goal was absolutely fantastic. The only concern I have is the injuries he's picked up, and I think Dom can tell us more about that.
Yeah, what can you say, Aaron Ramsey? I'd shit in my hands and clap just to watch him butter his toast in the morning.
Oh, I do that anyway.
Yeah, he makes you happy watching him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
As far as his injuries go, look, when he came off against West Ham, I was actually watching that game, and I remember he was caught in a funny position. He was running with the ball at the time and got tackled as he went down. So people talk about, the fatigue that he had and he should have had a rest and stuff. Look, it was one of those instances that there's no guarantee that he wouldn't have gotten injured anyway. It was one of those movements. So he reached up really, really high on his quad. There's a big muscle called your rectus femoris. And so the top of that is more of a tendon. So they don't have very little blood flow. If you tear something up towards the tendon of the muscle, it takes a lot longer to recover from. Again, going back to what I said earlier with these younger guys, the problem that he had was that he tried to go too hard, apparently in training, to try to get back too quickly, and he re-injured it twice, I think. So that was the issue, not necessarily the initial injury. It should have been maybe a 4 to 6 week injury. It just turned out and dragged out. But the positive thing is he came out and squashed the rumour that he needed surgery, which wouldn't actually surprise me, to be honest, but they would have done that as soon as he had the injury, not after the season. So, look, I think going forward, he should be okay. I think not playing any World Cup football or anything is going to be really, really positive for him. He can go away and have a rest. Well, the Aussies are over there, mate. We'll probably get 10 put past us, but we're there.
Yeah, you still score more than Wales.
I don't think we will, to be honest. I think we'll score 0, but that's all right. Fine. I think that he should come back next season and not really have too many problems with the injury that he had. And it seems that he's past his leg break too, because he relies so much on his running and his big engine that it's really important for him that he is right.
Another man with a big engine is FK. And a question that I wanted to ask you, FK, was we've all seen the recent comments made by Adrian Durham that Aaron Ramsey should have been playing in the Champions League final for a team like Real Madrid and Barcelona. Do you agree with those comments? It's high praise to think that he should be playing for one of the superpowers in the game. Do you agree with what he said?
Well, based on form, he's a player that you would expect to see take grace, at the Champions League final. There's absolutely no reason why he's not, why he couldn't play in such a game. He's a great player in great form. I think he already is at a massive football club. And I think, ultimately we stuck by him during a very tough time for him, and we've made him essentially the player that he is. Arsene Wenger's given him the platform and he's gone out and done the job. And there's a sense of loyalty that now he needs to show us. So I can't see him going anywhere. I think he's a very humble lad. He's got, a good sort of firm head on his shoulders. I don't think he's influenced by anything. To be made captain of Wales at 20 years of age, it shows that there's something about the boy. And now the best thing that Arsene could have done, he did do, and that's tying him down to a long-term contract. I think next season could be the year for him if he can avoid. I'm just gutted he had those 4 months out. If he can have an injury-free season next season, then you're talking about a player when Gerrard was at his peak for Liverpool. I mean, that's how good Ramsey could be. Some would argue that he's already there, but he's definitely well capable and maybe even deserves to play at the highest level. And don't forget, he's playing at a magnificent football club with massive potential.
And what would you say it was, FK, that's seen him really prevail this season? For me, I would think from seeing him before, or say seeing him last season, it was he used to take too many touches, try to be over clever with the ball, running around like a bit of a headless chicken at times. And I think this season he's tried to keep it simple. His passing has got better. I mean, what do you think?
I would agree that he's keeping it simple and he's not trying to get involved in too many tricks and he's thinking about his game. I think ultimately he's just become a better footballer. His touch is much better, his passing's much better, his engine, he's so fit physically, he can run box to box all day long. But I think also the game's kind of slowed down in his head. So whereas before he'd get the ball and try and impress, try and do something too much, maybe think about it too much, almost what Theo Walcott used to do when he was first at Arsenal, overcomplicate things. I think now maybe he sees the game, he sees the pass before he's made it. And of course being surrounded by better players, when you get the likes of Ozil and you get the likes of Cazorla training with you every day in and out, that makes you want to be a better player. And the key thing for him is fitness. He was a very good player before he had his leg broken. This form, okay, the form's a little bit surprising, but his ability shouldn't be surprising anybody. When he came from Cardiff, there was a lot of hype about him. United were in for him. Wenger knew he was going to be a great player, and it's just a shame that he had his, like I say, he had that long-term injury. So his ability doesn't surprise me, but his form has just been magnificent.
And Jason, from one proud Welshman to another, let's have your final thought on him.
I think one of the things FK's mentioned, he could play Champions League with Arsenal. This kid came to Arsenal because of his relationship. He struck up with Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger's shown great faith in him. All the people I know who know him, but I got a couple of friends who coach Cardiff City, and I know a couple of his teachers from when he's at school and what have you, and they all say the same thing about him. He's a lovely guy. He's grounded. He's not dazzled by the big lights or what have you. Maybe his ambition in years down the line may be to play elsewhere. You never know. But at this moment in time, I think he's concentrating on paying back Arsenal Football Club for the faith that they've shown in him by sticking by him. You know, this is not a big-time Charlie we're talking about. This is a good guy who wants to do his best for Arsenal Football Club. And that's the reason I'm so chuffed for him. You know, he's done well, he's worked hard, and, you know, his form is down to him and the manager and the team, and he appreciates everything around him. And that's it.
Right then, we'll move on. And Danny, one of your personal favourites next. I know you've been talking about Lucas Podolski all season, so let's have your season review of the fella.
Fucking nightmare. It's like a dog that keeps shitting on the carpet. Oh, I said I wasn't going to swear, didn't I? You leave it alone, you watch it, it's brilliant. You leave, then you take your eye off of him, and he has that FA Cup final game was just absolutely horrendous. I know a lot of the time depends on how he's been marked, or I think a lot of it is down to his attitude as well. But in this season, in all competitions, 27 appearances, 12 goals, and 5 assists. Now you're looking at that, you think, well, that's a goal every other game. But then some of those games he didn't deserve to be on the pitch, and some of the games he won the game for us. But in his second season now, and he should be doing much. Is it his second season? I'm sure it is.
I think so.
Yeah, he should be doing much better than what he's doing. And I can see why some people don't like him because of his inconsistency. He does look lazy, but I thought towards the back end of the season he was making more tracking back runs. He was working harder, getting more involved in the team. But I don't know what the problem with him is, with what's going on with him, because a player with his ability should be easy enough. He's a game winner. He's like a star player. Could have the ability to be the star player of any team that he played for. But you've got to ask if it's down to him, because you look at the time when he was the big time at Bayern Munich, he failed. Went back to Cologne, did all right, back up at the big time again with us, and more often than not, he just doesn't do it. And it's so frustrating because he's got one of the best shots in the club, and he's no stranger to a decent free kick as well. You're not going to get him off the ball if he doesn't want to. He's pretty nippy down the sides, and he can play out wide or he can play out front. And it's just really annoying, and I've got no idea. I just get fed up seeing it the whole time. But I'm not going to give up on the bloke. He could easily go now, and I think if he got more games and pulled his finger out, he could easily be the striker that we need all season. I know people say he can't play as a striker, but if you go back and look at his career at other clubs, especially when his second spell at Cologne, his goal scoring record when he played in the 4-5-1 as a main striker, 10 goals in 8 games. And that was the best run that team had all season. And then the manager dropped him, put him in a different position, put him in the Bergkamp hole, played him out wide and stuff like that. I think he only played out wide a few times, but I don't know. It's just such an infuriating player. He seems to have it all, but doesn't fulfil.
No, could any of that be down to injuries? I know, Dom, you said that he had a pretty horrendous hamstring injury at the start of the season. Could anything be down to his injuries?
I think so. I think he must have near tore his hamstring off the bone to miss as much time as he did earlier in the season. And
15 game days.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Normally a normal hamstring grade 1, grade 2 is going to be sort of 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, and 8 weeks is a pretty bad one. So, yeah, missing that amount of time, it must have been really, really bad. He did get stretchered off, I remember, and that was early on in the season. And once you're conditioned through pre-season training and you're really fit, and then to have that at the very start of the season, when you get back into the season, it's really hard to get that fitness level back up after missing that amount of time. So I think, look, I'm not giving the guy any excuses. I'm not sure he sort of fits the way that they like to play as far as the pass move game. I'm not sure he gets involved in that enough. But I think that, again, he'd be another guy that would benefit from a defensive midfielder, so he could push forward with confidence that someone's there that can cover and actually sort of get back. But as far as injuries go, look, he has had a couple of decently sort of hamstring injuries. He had an ankle/foot injury sort of the end of last season. So I think it's a bit of another one of those, hopefully cross your fingers and just hope that he can have a decent pre-season, he can get fit, and again, hopefully his attitude's where it needs to be for next season.
Right then, we'll move on to the next player, and that's Mesut Ozil, and we're going to go to John.
Well, I mean, basically, we have the best 10 in the game. The problem is that we don't have the weapons around him to, for that to be accentuated. I saw a lot of matches last year where, his influence was, highly apparent by runs and, dragging defenders with him and that sort of thing that a lot of people missed. And, that was quite, infuriating to read how much, he didn't influence the match. I don't go by ratings as much as influence on the match, per se, who scored, Squawka or whatnot. Before his injury, we were talking about a player that was top in the 5 major leagues in key passes. What the players around him do with those key passes is another thing altogether. I think that when Ramsey went down and obviously when Theo got hurt and he didn't have those runners or players willing to make those runs, I think he suffered. I think you saw a lot of Giroud suffering by default on that as well. When defenders can key into to an Ozil or to stopping that service to the forward, with the lack of players willing to make those runs or the ability there at those positions and on the wings or accompanying the midfield, I think it's just an easier way to stop a player like Ozil. You can put 2 players on him, and the defense is confident that the players around him are going to be able to perform at the level of the people that they're replacing. So, for me, I think he's completely worth the money that we paid. It's going to take some time for everybody to get integrated into the system, but I think when we were at our best, you look at the Napoli game, for example, Jack, Ramsey, Ozil. It just wasn't a contest. It was a matter of stringing passes together, great link-up play, and it was just fun to watch. I think we add a little bit of pace. Like I said before, I'm not a proponent of this. We need a world-class striker. I think we need a world-class defensive midfielder to allow these players up front to do what they do. And I think a bit of pace and a little bit of finishing added to what we already have, and we're going to be a very hard team to beat.
I thoroughly agree with that. Kris, continuing the theme of Ozil, a lot has been said and many people have been critical of his first season in England. Would you expect a lot more from him next season, or do you think what we've seen so far is pretty much par for the course?
I wouldn't expect a lot more as such. I think the trouble is that nowadays with the world we live in and with the amount of platforms we can watch football on, social media, etc., everyone seems to be the next sort of expert on how players should play, on how players should be, and how well they should be performing on what levels. And I think the truth of the matter is his stats speak for themselves. The style that he plays in does sometimes give off that sort of impression that he's, I hate to use the word lazy because that's not the word I'm looking for, but it's the only one I can think of, but it's that kind of languid style. But people forget that, Dennis played a very similar way, in his style, sort of the rolling of the rolling of the foot across the ball and the slowing the game down to sort of wait for draw an opponent in and then just slide it past him. I think too many people expect far too much, and the trouble is that we're almost going through it again this summer with the desire for a striker. It's this sort of world class tag, and everyone expects because he was £42 million that he's supposed to round 16 players every single week and volley at the net from 60 yards. It's just ridiculous.
But that to interject, Kris, I think that lazy tag is unjustified.
Oh, totally.
I mean, if you look at the Norwich game where he ran basically 80 yards down the pitch to get on the end of that header, that type of runs he can make. But when you're making a run by yourself and you have 3 defenders in front of you, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to keep running at full pace just so that the idiots at the end of the game can go, well, he gave it his all, No.
Exactly. And
you pull back, you make the simple pass, and you try again. And I think that's a lot where that, he makes the game look easy, and easy doesn't equal lazy.
I agree with that, and I think the other thing as well is sort of the big sort of thing in the background is we haven't seen him with Theo yet, and that's going to be a huge thing next season. So, that's something that we've all got to look forward to. That sort of blistering pace to get on the end of these passes.
Well, remember we did see him, and Theo had four chances.
Yeah.
On goal in like half a match. So
exactly, yeah.
Imagine that.
The guy is world class, and anyone that has slagged him off this season really needs to just have a little lesson in football and watch a little bit more than just a Twitter timeline or match of the day, because you have to really appreciate a player of that quality. Watching him for a full 90 minutes or seeing him in the flesh, you really get an idea of just how good a player he is. And also, let's not forget that this club was on its knees after the Villa game. When we signed him, it wasn't just the ability he gave the club on the pitch. It was the lift that he gave the manager, that he gave the coaching staff, that he gave all the players. And it really kind of announced us back onto the stage of that we can compete, we can sign these world-class players. And I think that's often forgotten when people are throwing him under the bus.
Thing is, though, I think he's very much in the ilk of Thierry Henry, not in a playing style, but he's one of those players that you see his name on the team sheet and you just think, yes. The other team must look at that and they must go, and we said earlier in the season with Ozil, if they know that Ozil is playing, then they have to put two defenders on him, which completely ruins the formation of the back four, which creates space for players like Giroud to get in behind, or for saying that for Walcott to get in and make a run. I mean, for what he brings, not only for just having his name on the team sheet, but for the touch of magic that he can produce in a split second, he's got to be there all day long.
Look at the run that almost won us the Southampton game.
Yeah. Exactly. Just for things like that. Right, we'll move on then. The next one on the list was Park Chu-young, but we understand he's been sold to the company that makes Rustler's burgers, those microwave burgers that are 60 seconds and done. So he's not around anymore. God rest his soul. We'll move on to Serge Gnabry, and we're going to go to Dom.
Yeah, Serge, he's an exciting little fella, isn't he? He's built like a brick Scheisenhausen. What did he have? Five appearances, 4 coming on as a sub. He scored a goal. Which goal was he scored? Was it against Swansea? Was it?
Yes.
I think it was against Swansea.
So it's almost as if you're reading it from a list.
It was.
It doesn't tell me which team he scored against. It tells me he scored a goal.
Cut in from the left against Swansea, wasn't it? Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
That's right. Ramsey assist.
That's the one.
Look, I think he's going to be one of those guys next season for us that gets a bit of a run in the first team a little bit more. He showed a fair bit. The one thing that really impressed me with him is how physical he is. He never really got knocked off the ball. In fact, he won a lot of 50-50 duels where he was up against a fullback or a centre-back and he just shrugs them off. So I've got high hopes for the kid. I think he's one of those guys coming through that could really push on next season and sort of have an impact into the first team, to be honest, especially with Oxlade-Chamberlain, like you guys have said, maybe going into more of a midfield role or even going out onto the left wing or something like that, and Gnabry getting more of a run on the right-hand side with Theo obviously coming back from a pretty serious injury. He's definitely probably going to have some opportunities next year, and I look forward to watching him.
And FK, what would you say to the people that maybe suggest that Gnabry should go out on loan?
Well, there's a case for it, certainly. I think if you want him to develop as at this stage of his career where he just needs game time, you have to question whether he's going to get, 20, 30, even 40 games at Arsenal. He probably won't next season. There were times this season when we were missing Walcott that I thought, why is he not getting a game? But I think he's been hampered with injury, but also maybe just not good enough to make the final squad. So there's definitely a case for him to be sent out on loan. I'd like to see more of him. I think I would agree with what Don was saying. He looked really good in a cameo role against Swansea. He's just an outlet, and actually that's what Mesut Ozil's game and Santi Cazorla's game and even Jack's game kind of needs. You need those players running in behind off the main man, and even Giroud's kind of suffered. So I was surprised not to see Gnabry play a bit more. But I think next season, just for his development, it's worth sending him out on loan for a year, for the next 10 years of his life, so to speak. So I'd like to see him go on loan.
Do you think he might be another one of those players like Jenkinson who will struggle to get the first team games and therefore would benefit from going out and getting, say, maybe 25, 30 games next season for someone along the lines of, say, who's just come up? QPR, someone like that.
Yeah, a small team like Tottenham, West Ham, that kind of thing. No, I kid. I think, you're right. It would be great to see him get game time, regular game time. It doesn't have to be for a whole season. It can be just maybe even for 6 months. But I think in the longer term, that puts him in a much better position. And quite frankly, if Walcott is fit next season, and if we do go out and get a winger, with Podolski claiming his claim on the left-hand side, I just can't see Gnabry getting a run of games. So maybe for him, he just needs that loan.
Mm. And we're going to go to Jason next, and I want you to analyse Ryo Miyachi.
Oh, I get a crackers today, don't I? Rio, fantastic. He's made one appearance in the league for us. Have we sold enough shirts with his name on the back in Japan? If we have, sell him. Get him gone. He hasn't forced his way into the squad. He's not done enough. Ta-da.
That's very short but sweet. Is there anybody else that wants to take Ryo Miyachi on?
I just think it's a shame because of the promise that he showed when he was at Feyenoord. The pace that he has got, he's right-footed, he plays down the left-hand side predominantly, and I can't see why he didn't do it. But he went to Bolton, and he was he got in. Was it Bolton or was it?
Yeah, Bolton.
Yeah, and then he went to Wigan this season. They got relegated, and he did nothing in the second half of the season. So I've got no idea what's going on with him. I think to take him virtually straight out of high school in Japan, bring him here, and then loan him out to Feyenoord and then the other two clubs, it just hasn't worked out for him. So sometimes you take a chance like this and let him go back to maybe the J League, do really well there. Might see him again in a few years' time when he gets a bit older. But I think he's never going to make it with us. I'm not even sure he has confidence in his own ability. But just people go YouTube Feyenoord and Rio, and you just see some of the stuff he was doing there, and this was 2.5 years ago. So it just really is a shame because he did look so promising. I mean, I could be wrong.
It is a shame, Danny, but ultimately it's down to him. These kids that we're famous for bringing through over the years, how many of them haven't put enough intent, work into it to make it work for themselves, and sooner or later it's shit or bust. And the kid's got loads of talent, bagfuls of talent, good luck to him. But, you've got to call it a day. If he's 21 now, he should be making an impact in the squad.
I think he'll get just very quickly, his game suits the Dutch League. If you look at the Dutch League, they're famous for producing young, quick wingers. We had one, remember rightly. But yeah, the Dutch League is well set up. It's a very counter-attacking league. The Ajax side have got bags of pace, PSV, Feyenoord. They're all back with pace, and that's where Rio got sort of his career up and running. Really, he's too lightweight for the English game, in my opinion.
Reminds me a bit of Ryan Babel. There you go.
I was going to say, wasn't he? I just look at him and I think Junichi Inamoto.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and it's the reason why someone like Wilfred Bonny has been a success in this country, because he is built and he's stocky. He's got that pace, he's got that directness, but he's a larger framed player. Whereas Miyachi, I think when he did the injury, was it for Wigan? I think it was at Everton when he went over and he went over the sideline, fell over the advertising hoardings, and he was out for 8 months or whatever it was. That kind of just sort of, obviously it's unlucky, but the fact that he could go over a hoarding and do that injury sort of suggests quite a lightweight player to me. Dom probably know more than I would.
People want us to sign Pedro.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, very good point.
And John, you've got something to say quickly on loans?
Yeah, I mean, we're famous for sending out, buying somebody like, Yoel Campbell and sending him out on loan, and he does great, but he doesn't ever do anything on, for the squad. The same thing with Rio. Pedro Botelho, if you guys remember him a couple of years ago, Wellington Silva. A loan can do wonders for a player that has the kind of talent that Jack has. Even Ramsey, when he came back from his injury, went back on loan. I think it's great for some players. I agree completely with FK on Jenkinson and Gnabry. And it can also be the start of the end for a lot of players, like, Botello. And I like Campbell, and I think should he be given a shot? Yes. But the likelihood is that we'll probably move him on for bigger money than we bought him for. And, it's a shame. A loan, it can either make or break a player in an Arsenal, if you really look at the history of us loaning players out. And, unfortunately, I would hate to see a Gnabry go out on loan when he has that talent, has shown that he can make an impact, compared to a player that needs a loan, as, Jenkinson does. Just for minutes to see if what's there is proved out over, more of a run of games than he's going to get at Arsenal.
That's a very fair point. We'll move on then, and we're into the home straight, really. So we'll start with FK Theo Walcott, please.
Huge regret with Theo this season. I thought he was an amazing player for us last season, top goal scorer, top assister. And I think the day he got injured, in that Spurs game, the day it was announced that he was going to miss the rest of the season, I remember waiting for my bus on the way home, and I saw, Twitter was going mad. Looked up the website just to make sure it wasn't some sort of a troll, and my heart just sank. I kind of remember standing there thinking, shit, that's it, that's the season gone. And that's no exaggeration. I think when you've got someone like Ozil, when you've got someone like Giroud, two players there that really thrive on having runners running beyond them, outlets from playing out wide with that pace, that electric pace, to lose someone like Walcott, and then knowing that Wenger doesn't really like buying in January, the writing was on the wall. Something inside me just said, that's the league title gone. I have no pride, no sense of joy or pride in kind of sitting here thinking, well, it turned out to be the case, but he was a massive miss for us, and he's actually the one player that I'm really looking forward to seeing next season, because I think the way that some of our players have developed and the way that our game is now changing, using Giroud as a proper target man, having someone like Ozil who sees those balls that very few players can, and I hate to upset Jason, but if, the prodigal son returns,
give it a rest, man.
Theo,
please, no more.
Theo could have a field day. And I just think the day he left was the day he got injured was, it was just so disappointing. So a massive miss for us. And in terms of future, yeah, absolutely, he's got a future at the club, and he's going to be the big boy next season. So looking forward to next season.
I think out of everything next season, out of all the players that could possibly come over the window, that sounds wrong, come in over the window. That was terrible.
But you were found not guilty in that case, though, weren't you?
Yeah, that particular one, yes. But out of all the players that might possibly come into Arsenal over the summer, I think watching Ozil and Walcott play together next season is the thing that I'm looking forward to the most. Out of everything, I think that's got to be it for me. Right then, we'll move on from Theo, and we'll go Olivier Giroud, and we will go to Danny.
I was just thinking, as you said that, we should make a conscious effort to pronounce his name properly. It's Giroud, because I hate it when people get French names wrong.
Did I do it right?
No, you said Giroud.
Oh,
you'd never catch me pronouncing a French name wrong, would you?
Well, Sagna.
Oh dear. I think poor old Ollie, he's going to have to be one of my favourite players at the club at the moment. I mean, he's a good-looking bloke. He's got fantastic hair, nice tattoos. He's a bit of a cheeky monkey in the bedroom department. But to be doing the role that he does and still manage 22 goals in 51 games with 12 assists, now that is a hell of a lot of product from a bloke who is doing so many jobs. Imagine if Thierry Henry and Bergkamp are once in a lifetime from that nation's players. But imagine if you had an Ian Wright up there, maybe an Alan Smith, a Kevin Campbell, a Paul Merson, someone who's played up front for us and has definitely got talent, but to have done that much work tracking back to play on the left wing, the right wings, in midfield, getting the ball run. Sometimes he's defending from corners. Sometimes he's one of our most busy players around the entire of the pitch, the kind of job you would expect from someone playing as maybe a holding midfielder, where they're covering everyone else's positions. And for him to do that and to get those many goals and that many assists, and then just to top it all off with his FA Cup final performance, who for me, along with Ramsey, were men of the match. He's just had a fantastic season, and hopefully he'll build on this. And next season he'll do even better, because if you look at the way he was last season, he was a little bit patchy, but he's definitely improved from last season, and he'll go on and he'll improve next season. And I mean, he's still only 27. It's not his birthday till September, and I just think he's a really good player, and I just love that it's all coming together for him. Another fantastic find by Wenger, because only a few years ago he was playing in the French second division alongside Koscielny. I think they were at Tours together.
He's a victim of his own work ethic, in my opinion.
He should be more lazy like Podolski, and he'd never get asked to track back.
It's a shame, really, because when you look at the guy, some of the touches this season have been fantastic. The back heel in the cup final. The Norwich game away, that cross for Ramsey's volley was absolutely wonderful. But, when he got caught with his pants down, his form dipped at the same time. And as much as I feel for him in a way that he's not banging goals in for us, it's tough. It is a tough position for him to be in. I'm always torn on Ollie. He can be wonderful, and he can be absolutely shocking at the same time, but he's got 16 league goals. It's 16 league goals.
Yes, it was something like that.
Yeah, it's 16 league goals. We need to be banging in 22 league goals, don't we? If we're going to win the title, we need him just to kick on next season. So hopefully he can do it.
Well, if he's allowed to play his game a little bit more, maybe he could get closer to like you said, it is 16. Maybe he's closer.
He's playing more of a 10. He's being asked to do everything midfield as well.
Yeah,
he does. But you got to remember, how much time did Ramsey miss? How much time did Jack miss? How much time did Ozil miss? How much time did Theo miss? A lot of people forget that Theo has some great crosses that have ended in really great opportunities for Giroud. So I think with all the injuries we had, which were spectacularly high, if you look at the injury league compared to the other top 4 teams, for the injuries that we had to the key players, it wasn't like we had injuries to supporting players, key players. Giroud's season doesn't look as bad as most try to make out.
John, I wouldn't argue that point, but I would say, okay, when those players are out injured, we need leaders to step up and really make the difference. And Giroud is one of those guys I would expect to do that job.
If Arsene Wenger allows him to do so, but he's still asked to track back. He's still asked to play in that defensive role that he does. If you look at some of his defensive stats, I mean, you could literally sit there and say, "Wow, is he a defensive midfielder?"
John, I'm not throwing him in the bus, but what I would say is, all too often he's gone down a bit easy. He's looking at the referee, expecting a free kick. The referee's not going to give it to him. He needs to chuck the elbow in on the bloody defender to let him know he's there.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree to that extent. But maybe that's a player understanding that he has limited touches per match, and he's trying to make a meal out of everything that he's getting fouled on. And you have to understand that he's got very limited pace. He's got very limited service due to the injuries that we have. And I think if you look at him when he has a full talented squad behind him, he shines. But he's also asked to do a lot of things a lot of forwards aren't asked to do. And if you see him versus I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you see him in his France match the other day with Remy alongside him, he does a lot of things for the other players coming behind him, making runs and better finishers that will be accentuated by better players around him.
But I got to be honest here, I'm going to argue the point again that because I agree with you, but I just think he needs to kick on and become a better player. because he's got all the tools there. Some of the stuff he's done this season has been magnificent. His dip in form this season was down to his personal life as well as the injuries. And that's the bit which annoys me. Team sport is about commitment, intent, application, and then delivering. If a bit more this season, and he could have been up into the 20s with his goal mark in the Premier League. No ifs or buts.
But would you agree, John, in saying that one of the players that suffered the most from Theo Walcott's injury was Giroud, because they were starting to click?
Absolutely. I think, Giroud, Ramsey, Ozil, Wilshere.
The nucleus of the team, basically.
The nucleus of the team, providing service to a player that's, by and large, static as far as his forward play, but is asked to do a lot more than most players on the team, like Danny alluded to. I mean, clearances when we play off of corners, doing a lot of track back play. We're asking this of a guy that's, his pace is at best marginally better than Arteta's.
No, very true. Right then, we should think about wrap this up, but we've got one more player next. And John, it would only be fair to finish it off by going to you and asking you to summarise your thoughts on Yaya Sanogo.
A very easy phrase: a bull in a china shop. He doesn't have the coordination yet for whatever reason, due to injury or a layoff or whatnot. He needs a loan move and to work those things out. But there's no denying that he's got more pace. He's got decent link-up play, and he causes havoc for opposing defenses. He just needs to work out that finish.
And I think, do you think he's one of those players that would probably gain from going out on loan?
Absolutely. I think he needs to go out on loan. We need to bring in a striker / winger that can deputize in both areas and send, the kid out on loan. I think he needs a run of minutes at a championship or lower PL club. And I think, we'll see what we have. Is it promising? Absolutely. Nobody knew who Adebayor was when he came in.
No, I think you've definitely got to look at Sanogo and say he's a punt. You can't write him off on half a season. You've got to let him have a loan, see what you've got from him, and then analyse from there. FK, I know you want to speak on Sanogo.
Yeah, just very quickly. When I first saw him in the Under-20 World Cup, was it a couple of summers ago for France, he looked fairly decent, fairly promising, and quite lightweight. And actually, Wenger sending him on this muscle growth rehab program, which I'm sure Dom knows more about than most of us, but he came back almost a different animal, even still a young boy. And actually the best thing about Sanogo that I think is that he just wants it. When he came on in the FA Cup final, I sat there thinking, holy shit, we're trailing the game and he's just taken Podolski off and he's brought on Sanogo. And actually it was that there was actually a bit of a master sort of tactic move, because Sanogo wanted it, he got himself about, he caused havoc, and he just, like John says, he could do with a loan move. And I think if we do go out and get another centre forward, then I think his game time is going to be very, very limited. But I think he's got all the rough ingredients to become a really good striker. And actually the games that he played, I think everyone was surprised when he was started against Bayern Munich. He played against Liverpool in the Cup and actually didn't do too much wrong. So given the game time, he could turn out to be a real star at Arsenal.
As John's just written in the group there, he is Adebayor without the attitude. I think that's a very good way to say, to describe the lad. Right then, so that's all the players that are featured minus Nicholas Bentner, but we didn't really want to give him the airtime because he's a bit of a big head. But we must only talk about Arsene Wenger next, and we're going to do a brief bit. Of course, he's just signed this new deal. A lot of people said that he should go. A lot of people said that he should sign. FK, you were one of the first lot that said that he should sign. Are you happy to see him sign?
Yeah, delighted. I think he's tried to navigate through a very tough period as well as he could, and he's done, I think, for me, a great job, and I'm so happy that he won the Cup this year. It was a massive shame not to have finished higher in the league, and I think at the start of the season, if we were being honest with ourselves, I don't think any of us would have backed us to win the league title, simply because the other teams had stronger squads. I think he missed a real opportunity to add to the squad in January for reasons, none of us will ever know. Maybe he'll write a book about it one day. But I'm really pleased he's got the contract. And, you don't sign players like Ozil without having a long-term plan. Now that all the financial shackles have been loosened, there's just absolutely no doubt that he's got shitloads of money to spend. We've had a really good season. We've got a real good core of players. Get him active in the transfer market. He knows what we need to get. He's a smart man. He's won trophies galore before. He knows why we're short. He knows why we've not been competing. Go all out for next season. Try and secure that league title. And he's absolutely the right man to lead us.
Okay. Dom, I know you've got a little bit to say as well.
Yeah, look, for me, I think you got to give the guy credit where it's due, and you can also criticise where it's due as well. But, a lot of people were saying that he needed to go out and spend some money and win a trophy, and that's exactly what he did this season. I think it's time for him to push on a little bit this transfer window. It is something that kind of worries me a bit because, I know a lot of people might disagree, but signing Ozil for $42.5 million wasn't anything other than a last-minute buy in the transfer window. He hadn't been scouting Ozil for the whole window. I think it's well documented that we spent a lot of time chasing Higuain and Suarez and these guys, and that opportunity just came up at the end. But hopefully this transfer window he can go out and get what's needed. But the thing that I think that he brings more so than anything is that with the young core of players that we've got, your Kieran Gibbses, your Jack Wilsheres, Aaron Ramsey's, Oxlade-Chamberlain's, all of these guys, there is no one in world football better to bring these guys on than Arsene Wenger. He will get the absolute best out of each and every one of those guys, and they will all be here, hopefully, for the next 5-10 years.
Without doubt. And John, you were a man that mid-season said, on Arsene Wenger, let me judge him on the end of the season. So, end of the season time, balls out the bag on this one. What you saying?
I like that he signed on, just because if you look at the other clubs around us just being unstable when it comes to a managerial position, we've had that stability for quite some time. My only complaint is two-parted. Number one is we need to target players that we need at positions we need, and we need to fill those positions first before we go on to kind of like quote-unquote dream signings at positions that we don't need. I think that if we sign somebody like Cesc, talented as he is a luxury buy more than a need buy. We have so many positions we need to reinforce, with Sanya leaving and Fabianski leaving, and the obvious need of defensive midfielder, the obvious need for a backup for Giroud and maybe somebody on the left, or maybe somebody that can deputize at each of those positions. And then somebody like Cesc, I think for me, is a luxury buy. Given our clauses for him, it's a luxury buy that would be idiotic not to take and idiotic for Barca to apply. I like Wenger. I think he showed this year that he was willing to break the mold on what his prior moves have been, where it be last minute or not. As far as, like Dom said, Ozil signing, it was either Ozil or Di Maria. So, he was going for, a key player. The one that came up at the last minute, because of reasons of play time at Real Madrid or whatnot is debatable. But, he was after one of those two players. He was after Di Maria and ended up with Ozil. I think we got the better of the deal. So as far as is concerned, his tactics, he's changed. He's shown that he's willing to change to a 4-4-2 at crucial times. Like FK alluded to, bringing Sanogo on when most people were kind of skeptical at that point. So he's willing, if he's willing to change, the nuances of his game and willing to reinforce where we need, I'm more than happy to have Wenger on for the next 3 years.
And Kris, your thoughts on Le Prof?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. I mean, everything that John has said and that Dom has said is spot on. So just to sort of add a brief bit to that, this is a guy that has essentially single-handedly built what we now play, or what we now play in, both in style, in sort of class, and the stadium itself, the training ground. He's got a footprint on so much of this club, and I think it's so easy for people to say, oh yeah, well, he's got to move on, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. The guy's not stupid, he's very intelligent. There is no better manager out there currently for Arsenal Football Club than him, in my opinion. And if there was, I think he would quite happily suggest, yeah, I'll move on because there's someone better. I think there's also quite a big emphasis on these new Dutch coaches coming in. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Jonker possibly being groomed, if not as head coach, as certainly one of the coaching staff leading the team forwards when Arsene steps away. I'm all for it. And much like John said about judging him at the end of the season, the big step now is, can he take that step into the transfer market in the summer, and can he bring in the players we need and shut a few people up? But I'm all for it, and I'm really happy for him, and very, very happy that he got that trophy, because his face in the cup final was really genuinely touching to see how much he enjoyed that and how much the players made sure that he enjoyed that.
Definitely so. And Jason?
Yeah, I'm over the moon Wenger signed. I really am thrilled a bit. I think, delivering the FA Cup, we challenged the season. We wish he could have kept it going a bit further, but I think now is the time for him to kick on. He needs to let his hair down a bit, not worry about the price of players. We are a super club now. We've got all these new streams of income coming in. Let's act like a super club. Go out there, you rock out with your cock out. Let's get some big name players in. Just get the players we need and really kick on next season. I really want to see him just relax and enjoy managing the football club that he's helped to build.
Definitely so. And Danny, you've been someone that's, say, overly critical of Arsene Wenger this season. Were you swinging your knickers from a flagpole when you found out that he'd signed a new deal?
You can just always hope that he's going to change his ways, have a plan B, pick the players in the right positions, get rid of the players that shouldn't be playing. But yeah, I don't think he's going to do that. I mean, season on season, I'm just looking at a little thing that I've got on my own website that over the last 3 seasons, he's played 54, 56 this season, 53 last, 54 the one before that, and he's averaging about 55, 56% wins. And we're getting to the same position in the league, which I suppose as soon as we've got another manager and we're finishing 5th, people are going to be going, oh, see, I told you all those years of finishing 4th. He was a genius to get there. We've won the FA Cup. We're probably going to have a good chance of winning the Charity Shield because they'll all be up for it. And Man City are a little bit of a cup final bottlers, even though it's only a 2-team final, but it'll still count as a trophy. So it's probably no one out there better who's going to come along and do it. With Klopp has already started rebuilding at Dortmund. He's got the Serie A top goal scorer Immobile, which would have been ironic if we would have signed him, because we do have a few players that are a little bit like that.
I read that earlier and I thought, why have they signed this Immobile old boy?
Yeah, he's a half decent player, and to score that many goals, I think he was a Torino, is pretty good. But I suppose, yeah, he's what I'd have wanted is to finish top 4 and win a cup, and he's done that. And if he can win the Charity Shield, and then next season we don't have all the injuries, because we know this season if we wouldn't have had the injuries, we'd have won the league. So I can't complain too much. I don't think we're really going to do that much ever again, because he isn't going to go out there and go, I've got 150 million, I want to be remembered at this club as a bloody legend. I'm going to go and spunk the entire lot because it's not actually my money, and I'm either going to go shit or bust. But I don't think he's going to do that. He's just going to go slowly, catchy le monkey.
Very good. And John, I understand you want to give a shout out to the Arsenal Ladies FA Cup team.
Yeah, absolutely. We won the double FA Cup for Arsenal. Smith scored on a free kick. Kinga added a second. Carter had a huge game. It was the manager's last match, I believe. But yeah, the girls went and replicated what the lads did.
But that's the 13th FA Cup they've won in 14 years, I think I heard them say. And the manager, she's only been in charge of Arsenal ladies for 16 months. I think she's won 3 trophies. But if everyone's wondering all of a sudden why the Arsenal ladies aren't doing what they used to do, it's because Liverpool, Notts County and Man City have all gone semi-pro, where everybody else is still amateur, and Man City stole a couple of our best players.
And eight player changes as well.
Yeah, so it's nice that the girls went out there and won it for the manager, because she's a really nice woman. She was last manager of Glasgow, and I don't think we can expect too much from Arsenal ladies anymore, because you cannot compete with the teams that have got the money, because they're just bringing in whoever they want. Because if you're a young female player and you're half decent, are you going to go and play for Arsenal as an amateur, or are you going to go and earn a few quid playing for Man City?
On a side note, it was kind of funny watching Kelly Smith lift the trophy. She's won so many that she knows the lid comes off. Unlike Vermaelen, that lifted the cup with lid on top and just fucking spilled it everywhere.
I think I heard that maybe that was her 41st trophy win. Is that right? I know we've won.
I don't know, but it was a ridiculous amount of FA Cup wins.
Right then, we're going to wrap this up with a final thing, and then we'll be gone from your ears for most of the summer. What I want to do is I want to ask you boys individually, and this has to be feasible, so you can't say Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi and Diego Costa. 3 players that if you were Arsene Wenger, with the money that he has sat there, you would bring in. And I have prompted 1 or 2 on you on this, so Kris, I'm going to go to you first.
Right, so 3 players. See, it's very difficult because I think we need more than 3, but I think you're right, we'll only bring in 3. So
we could be here all night. It'd be a 4-hour podcast.
Yeah, right. The 3 I'll chuck at you are Anders Iturraspe from Athletic Bilbao, holding midfielder. I'm sure John will back me up on this one. He's just a gem of a player, strong in a tackle, good athlete, has a final ball, and if has a sort of central defensive midfielder, that's rare, and he'd be a hell of a lot cheaper than Javi Martinez. So I'll take him. Alexander Lacazette. I think he's 10 times the player that Antoine Griezmann is, and they're talking about Griezmann being £25 million, which is just utterly bizarre for me. He's direct, he's quick, he's got a very good shot on him, he's decent in the air, his pace is sort of up there with a Theo Walcott over a short burst, and he can play wide and cut inside, which is obviously something that Arsene likes to have in the team. And based upon the fact that we will definitely need a right back, I'll go slightly outside the box on this one, although I do think Aurier is probably will be a done deal, and I do think he's a hell of an athlete. I've got a bit of a soft spot for another right back in Sebastian Courtier, who plays for Nantes Sochaux in France. Again, tireless athlete. He's a French under-21 international. You get him for a very cheap price. He's just a fantastic little player, and I think he could even be better than Aurier long term. But obviously Aurier seems to be the one that we'll get. But they'd be the ones that I would go for. And I'll pass it across to Jace.
I'd go more Premier League ready, to be honest. So I would love to see Javi Martinez as a defensive midfielder if he's available. The signs are he is available, so let's go for him. I'd love to see Lukaku up front alongside Giroud. I think he'd be great for us. And I'd see Sanchez, because if Barcelona are offloading people, a quick left wing would be fantastic for us. And those are the 3 I'd like to see. And I'll go Dom.
Yeah, look, me and John are going to be banging the defensive midfielder drum all summer, I think. I think it's probably more important than the world-class striker that we all want. Going into next season with Arteta, Flamini and Diaby in defensive midfield is going to be an absolute nightmare. We'll get absolutely raped on the counter-attack if that's the case. So for me, a defensive midfielder, I'm a big fan of Morgan Schneiderlin. I think he's Premier League ready. I think he's the right type of athlete. I don't want a big lumbering, huge bulk of a person there. Someone that can move around and is quite athletic would be good. Someone maybe a bit left field that no one's spoken about is Stephen El Shaarawy at AC Milan. He had a season full of injury just gone, so he didn't play too much. But the season before, his stats were really, really good. And he's that left-sided forward that gets in behind. He's really skillful. He can dribble with the ball, and he can also play through the middle a little bit as well. And then obviously he's a right back. Look, I don't actually think we're going to get Serge Aurier, to be honest. I think that he's going to want someone a little bit more experienced, but yeah, I'm not too sure. All right, Danny, you can have a go now.
I shouldn't have said it.
Don't say Balotelli either.
Well, I'll have Balotelli because I want someone to liven that team up who's a game winner, because that's the kind of thing that we need. Someone who's gonna be a little bit on the mental side. It's gonna be fun to watch, and North London could do with someone going around and wiping his bottom on £50 notes and giving them away. So I definitely have him. And then I think we need to strengthen at the back. So I'm a big fan of Subotic and Hummels, whichever one of those two we can want. I quite like the idea of Subotic because he spent a lot of time in America growing up there. I think he spent a few years over there, or maybe even longer than that. And so he speaks perfect English, and he's just a half decent player. I like him. He's better than half decent. He's bloody good. And then I do like Aurier, the unpronounceable at right back, who this season has got 6 goals and 7 assists from right back. Now, I'm not sure what formation they play, but bloody hell, that's a decent outcome for a person who plays at right back. So he must be
wing backs, by the way.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, that does explain it a little bit.
To
then.
lose.
Yeah. So or to win.
Hey, see what you did there?
Very good.
So I'm not
He's
going to
on
go.
fire.
I'm not going to go and pick a boring one like that. I'm going to go and pick Schneiderlin from Southampton, because Southampton lost their manager. They've lost their bloke up front, and I think they're right for the picking now. He's come all the way from League One with Southampton. He's played the football where you're going to have to do the hard stuff to get anywhere, and so so I'm going to go for those 3. And that's it. And I think I would go and ask FK how he can't pick Cesc 3 times. FK, go on, FK. Is he even there?
Can I do my 3?
Oh shit, it's me.
Oh, there he goes.
Sorry, guys.
There's only one.
Everyone's doing it.
Sorry, man. I've just discovered Babe Station on Twitter. It is ridiculous.
He's messaging
just-
a girl somewhere.
Yeah. What's the question? Say I can't have Cesc, but I can have 3 players. All right.
No, you got to have 3 players. I said you can't have Cesc
Okay,
3 times.
in a dream world, I would love. Are you going to be surprised by this? But Rafael Varane, centre back. Midfield wise, I would have Paul Pogba, and up front I want Cavani. But in reality, I think I would be happy with Morgan Schneiderlin or Sami Khedira in the middle, with Cesc and Loic Remy. That'll do.
That's not too bad.
And who are you picking next?
Oh, and I'll go to John. You can go last game.
Okay, John.
Well, because I'm short bus special and I love to lick windows, I'm not gonna pick 3. I think we need 4. Fuck the 3. So I'm gonna go Remy, Rose on the left, Khedira or Iturraspe in the middle, and Aurier at the back because he can cover both center back and right back. So fuck y'all.
I didn't even say Vela in any of that lot.
I'm going to go Balotelli up front, just because if Balotelli's on offer, how can you not have Balotelli?
£20 billion, apparently. That's all they want for him.
The man's a fucking nutter. You got to love him. You've got to. The next one.
If that would pay off, imagine him. Some of the stuff he did at Man City, the good stuff is.
Like the magic tricks when he wasn't playing up in the box. Amazing. My next one would be Loic Remy, just for the simple fact, again, what is he, £8-10 million?
And he's known for a bit rapey.
Exactly. I think he could complement Giroud superbly. I think with Sonogo, or like we've had this season with Bentner, you don't have much hope with one of them players getting up off the touchline, coming on the pitch and scoring you a goal. Whereas I think you have a player like Remy coming off the bench. Again, I've done another one. When he gets up off the bench, I think he could easily come on and grab you a goal. And my last one would be Cesc Fabregas. Not for the simple fact that I want to see him play in an Arsenal shirt. I'd quite happily fuck him off in the reserves for the next 10 years. Just for the simple fact that one fucking idiot, what he put, that he would delete his Twitter if Fabregas came back. And I've filled up the car. I'm on my way to Catalonia tomorrow. I'm going to pick the fucker up. I'm bringing him back, FK. Do you want to come?
Oh, yeah, mate.
Yeah. It's a road trip. And then the next thing, we'll drive to, Cloud Cuckoo Land where that twat lives, and then we'll personally make him delete his Twitter account. Fuck no. Right then.
Just don't bring John, you'll scare him.
No. I could go even worse then, but I'm not going to.
He'll pretend he's in the hospital again, the cunt.
Right, so all that's left then is to thank all of you boys for joining me this evening.
No worries.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. And all the millions, I did write down a few numbers of things that we've got this season. Like
Do it. Do the ABW by numbers.
Oh, are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, anyone give me a backing track?
Tickle their bellies.
Don't give me 1.2 million web hits, 290,000 downloads via YouTube and our website and iTunes, 30,000 YouTube views, 14,000 tweets from us, which is mainly just rubbish. Today we've hit the 14,000 Twitter followers, which is quite impressive. And then we've had 933 YouTube subscribers. And so thanks to all of you. And the next season it's going to be bigger and better. So if each one of you can get 100 people each to listen, we'll have everybody on the planet listening by Christmas.
Hey, Danny.
Yeah.
I'll give you one more number. Here's another one. Here's another cunt for you. Cunt.
It's like the millionth time you said it in this pod.
I know. I love it.
Yeah, wonderful. We'll end it on that then. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and have an absolutely fucking epic summer. Good night.
No, cheeky monkeys.
Woke up, bitches.